Oh, hello and welcome back to Raised on a Garden Pantry. Today I'm going to make a recipe from my Aunt Virginia. Stick around to see what it's going to be. I am making a chocolate cherry cake made with a cake mix with homemade frosting too. So let's get started. Okay, we're gonna take a chocolate cake mix. We're gonna dump that in a mixing bowl. We're going to add a can of cherry pie filling. We will add this to the cake mix. And then 1 teaspoon of almond extract. Ooh, it smells really good. Okay, we're gonna add a teaspoon of almond extract. Oh, I think that's one of my favorite extracts, especially with cherries. And then we're gonna mix this together. And it said on the recipe that I got from my mom to mix this by hand. All right, we need to add 2 eggs. All right, let me wash my hands. Mix this up together. Get that all combined together. And then we will add a cup of chocolate chips. Okay, let's add our chocolate chips. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, now let's get a pan here and we're gonna spray it, or you could use a butter, want grease so it comes out real good. And now we're going to put our cake mix in our thing. Just make sure you kind of got it all moistened. Don't want any dry spots. I think we got it good. All right, now we'll put it in our 9x13 pan. And then we will bake it in a 300-degree oven for, it says, about 35 minutes. And then we will make the frosting after this bakes and cools a little bit. Okay, spread this out. I remember eating this a long time ago over at Virginia's house, and I love this cake. I love it. It's easy. It's real simple to put together. It's really great with the cherries in it. And I didn't know until just recently. I was talking to my mom about it, and she finally got me the recipe. There was an actual recipe to it. I think I've tried to make it before, but I think I didn't have that almond extract. So here we go. I'm gonna put it in the oven and bake it for 35 minutes at 350. Mixer. I have to use my stand mixer because I do not have a hand mixer. Okay, and then we're going to add, now we're going to add 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. Okay. And now let's put this on here. We're gonna start mixing it up. Should have put the cocoa powder in. Mix it up. No. Add our vanilla. And then we'll slowly add our milk into the frosting here. Have it come together. Now beat it up really high to make a frosting. I'm going to add a little bit more powdered sugar because it looks thin. All right. Mix that up together. That's looking really good. Let's scrape down the sides and get all that powdered sugar mixed and incorporated in there. And start mixing it up on high. Ooh, that looks really good. All right, let's open it up here. Oh, that's gonna be really good. Ooh. Now I'll just give it a quick mix in here and get all the powdered sugar. And there we go. We have the frosting all ready. Now we'll bring that cake out of the oven and we'll cool it, or we will bring the cake out of the oven and we'll frost the cake when it's cooled. So while the cake is cooling, I'm just going to talk about Aunt Virginia for a little bit. Aunt Virginia was a great person. And my mom and my dad met her. They were neighbors when my oldest brother was younger, and they just became fast friends, and they stayed friends for over 50 years, I believe. I'm wrong, Mom, correct me, but and I mean, she wasn't even our real aunt. She was just a really good friend. I mean, I just remember her just loving to cook and caring for her family. She was kind of rough, but she wasn't mean. She was sweet in her own way. But she had 3 boys, so, you know. Anyway, but I enjoyed her because she just was really a really nice person. I just enjoyed being around her and her husband. And I do remember one time when we lived out of state for a while from them, and when we moved back, she was the first person there, and she had dinner ready for us right when we, you know, got into this new house, and she had everything, you know, by the end of the day that you're moving, you're just ready to be done. But she had dinner made for us. She was always like just kind like that, and I really appreciate that, and I really appreciated that in her. And I just remembered all the food that she would make, and she was just a really good cook. Now, she did not like onions. I do remember that. So she wouldn't have onions in her recipes, or she wouldn't put them in there. But that's just kind of funny, because you add onions, but she would not add the onions. Call her Aunt Virginia all her life, not until maybe the last 10 years. You know, when I had my daughter, and she was like, oh, I'm kind of like Stephanie's aunt, you know, I'm kind of like their aunt. So that's when we started calling her Aunt Verge. Old Verge. I think my brothers would call her that, Old Verge, and she didn't like that because she thought he called her old. But anyway, my mom was a hairdresser, so she would come over and have her hair done, get her perms and things. And I do remember her just being around. And we lived in a town that had a lake in between these 2 towns, and she always lived on the other side of the pond. And I think she was a cousin in the family too. My dad worked at a phone company a long time ago, and she needed a job, and all of a sudden she was a cousin. So she was cousin Virginia at work. But anyway, great lady, miss her, and I hope you enjoy this recipe, and I hope you give it a try. It's one of my favorite things. I do remember as a dessert from her. And I have a few more recipes. I might try to make those as well. All right, let's frost this frosting. It's still a little warm, but that's what the recipe said to do. Doesn't seem. Now, if you, I dropped it. Now, as I was gonna say, now if you do not want to make homemade frosting, go ahead and buy canned frosting. That's really good as well. Really good as well. And I was thinking at one point of buying the canned frosting. Sometimes I just don't want to do one more thing. You know, it's the dishes. I'm not a big fan of doing dishes. So now just spread this on here. Ooh, it's a little melty, and get it all over it. And then you just want to let it cool and enjoy it. Get it all melted. It's like just enough. Oh, I'm so excited to try this again. I haven't had this in years. I've been asking my mom for the recipe, and she finally gave it to me. It's one of my favorites. One of my favorites. I love cherry and chocolate together, and oh, I love almond frosting as well, or almond extract as well, and it just goes so good with cherries. Okay, so now I'm just gonna let this cool, and we'll come back and we'll try it later. Next day, and here we go. Here is the cake. It's cherry. Ooh, there's a cherry. Let's take a bite. Here we go. So delicious. That's it. That's the cake. It's nice to have recipes from people that have passed away, and you can still remember them through food. So write down your recipes, share them, don't keep them secret. So someday you can pass on your legacy. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.